we have updates on Scream 7, Terrifier 3, Abigail's box office performance, and a movie that uses a real animal as its main antagonist. A lot of strange updates today, let's get into all of them. Now, before I get into this, I real quickly want to thank the patrons that support this page. I simply could not do this channel without you guys. It's the reason that I'm able to make this crazy short film that I'm working on. Y'all will get an update on that today, by the way. And again, your support is very much so appreciated. Thank you all so much. Now let's get into today's updates, shall we? During my live stream yesterday, the topic of old school Italian horror cinema was brought up. I've always appreciated this time in the 70s when giallo and splatter horror dominated the indie scene. One of my personal favorite films from this time period comes from director Lucio Fulci. It's called Zombie, Zombie 2, Zombie Flesh Eaters, depending on what part of the world you're from. I could talk all day about the incredible practical effects or some of its most iconic moments, but it's the shark scene that we need to discuss for today's update. There is a scene in this movie where an actor, like a real guy covered in a bunch of fake zombie makeup, fights a real fucking shark. It's one of the most mesmerizing scenes in horror history due to how difficult this extreme sequence was to shoot and the trippy visual it exudes. It's even kind of a viral video here on YouTube. This adds so much to this zombie gore fest, but I fear that if they were to remake Zombie today, they would take the simple route of just making it a CGI shark. I just don't think that would have the same impact. I remember watching this movie as a kid and thinking to myself, how did they do that? You just don't have that same hypnotizing factor with the digital creature on the big screen. Although, I will say that is a much safer way to execute something similar. With all of that being said, a brand new movie in 2024 is being made where a real fucking grizzly bear is the antagonist. Nothing digital about it, baby. A new animal horror titled Savage Hunt is currently using a real grizzly bear on location as part of the shoot. The plot description for the film reads, the story follows a vengeful tracker who is brought in to hunt down a large grizzly bear, which has begun attacking humans when a new local resort begins construction, disrupting the natural habitat of the wildlife. Savage Hunt has my interest for this one simple factor alone. They just don't make horror movies like that anymore, and I'm dying to see some of these attack sequences. I mean, the plot here isn't anything too crazy. It sounds almost exactly like Grizzly, which was a Jaws knockoff, just replace the shark with a bear. But I still want to see this movie and support it for doing something so outrageous like this. I hope that all of the performers here stay safe, of course, but I commend the filmmakers for their attention to detail, trying to make their film look as real as physically possible. That's dedication, baby. Our friends over at Radio Silence have been thriving in the 2020s so far, with big franchise continuations like Scream 2022 and Scream 6, both becoming very profitable at the worldwide box office. It's unfortunate, however, to see their latest movie, Abigail, flop so hard. The production budget for this new take on Dracula's daughter was reportedly $28 million, and the film has only grossed about $28.5 million. Yeah, it did make its budget back, but for a film to be considered profitable, it needs to make about 2.5 times what its budget was. So after doing all of that math, Abigail needed to make about $70 million at the worldwide box office, which is currently $41.5 million short. That's just highly unlikely at this point in its theatrical run and makes this Radio Silence fan big sad. I think one of the biggest reasons Abigail didn't do so well is it didn't have that elusive marketing campaign that most Radio Silence flicks have had. Scream 2022, for instance, had an Airbnb marketing event where you could stay at Stu's house where they shot the original Scream movie's third act. People met franchise star David Arquette there as well. It was so cool. On top of that, they had an entire TikTok account dedicated to a faux resident of Woodsboro, who was documenting the murders in the upcoming installment. It was easily some of the most explosive marketing I have covered in my 4 years of doing this weird channel. Melissa Barrera's recent controversy could have had an effect on this as well, but that seems unlikely to me with so many of her supporters vocalizing their anger for Spyglass so frequently. Maybe I'm just not seeing it, but it seems like the majority of people sided with Melissa Barrera here. They think that Spyglass wrongly fired her. There is a small silver lining to Abigail's box office performance, though. The new flick from Universal outgrossed previous Dark Universe vampire movies like The Last Voyage of the Demeter and Renfield, which were both also flops. Out of all of the films that are trying to reinvent old school Universal monster properties, Lee Winnell's The Invisible Man is still the most successful by a country mile. It makes me happy to know that Abigail wasn't the the biggest flop of the bunch though. It is definitely one of the better movies out of everything we've just talked about, but I am hoping that Universal is able to turn all of this around. I really like these reimagining of old school properties. Here's hoping that Lee Winnell's Wolfman finds some fans early next year. Today's Scream 7 rumor might actually have some truth to it. According to trusted third-party source Daniel Richtman, actress Carrie Russell is in talks to join the cast of the latest Scream film. Horror fans last saw Carrie being a badass mom in 2023's Cocaine Bear. Given some real Joyce Byers energy there, Carrie, I dig. There's another rumor floating around right now from Critical Overlord, another third-party source that I personally trust, that says that Sidney Prescott will have a nosy neighbor character living next door, and she's not a big fan of Sydney's, likely because of all of those killings that happened in her past. I could absolutely see Carrie playing this Karen-type character that will most likely be fish food by the time the credits roll. No way is Ghostface not stabbing that character, if she's real, of course. Whether this is true or not is yet to be determined. I'm still waiting on an official source to confirm all of it. So far, the only things confirmed about Scream 7 are what Neve Campbell shared with us in one of her latest Instagram posts. Neve Campbell is back as Sidney Prescott, Kevin Williamson is directing, for some reason, Guy Busick wrote the script, and James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick came up with the story. Those are our 4 big bullet points for now. There's not really a whole lot else to go off of. This is just me speculating, of course, but I'm like 99% sure that Courtney Cox and Patrick Dempsey will be confirmed to be in the cast. Hopefully Carrie Russell gets confirmed alongside them. With everything we know about Scream 7 so far, it seems to be catering to the older Scream 7 audience. If this rumor does end up being true, for instance, I imagine that the majority of the cast will fit this age range of like late 40s, maybe through their 50s, and a lot of those actors and actresses that I was just talking about all fit that bill. It makes me worried that Scream 7 will turn away a lot of its younger fans that they've just accrued from the latest 2 entries, if they haven't done that already by casting out Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega. A lot of folks out there are saying this could be the best installment in the Scream franchise in years, but I have my concerns. Screams 5 and 6 were much more targeted towards the younger audience, and now they're trying to target the older audience? When you try to appeal to everyone, you appeal to nobody. The Terrifier franchise is one of the hottest commodities in the horror space right now, and with good reason. It's so popular with horror fans that shirts are flying off the shelves at retail stores, and Party City even has some nasty-looking animatronics to decorate your yard with this fall. It's one of the only new slasher franchises to have a killer turn into an instant icon with its latest entry, and fans are dying to see the new movie coming out this October. Originally, Terrifier 3 was to be released closer to Halloween on October 25th. But today, it's been reeled back 2 weeks so that we can enjoy Art the Clown's Massacre all throughout the spookiest month. Variety reports today that Terrifier 3 now releases on October 11th. This is, in my opinion, a great shift. Terrifier 3 may be marketed as a Christmas movie, but it's a gory splatter flick. It's much more suited for the Halloween season. I think it makes the most sense to have its theatrical run throughout October and then release it on streaming around Christmas time. Something I've noticed too is that the interest in horror movies sharply declines once November 1st hits. My channel's views drop significantly after Halloween, and I imagine the same goes for horror fans at the theater. With the original release date of October 25th, you would have had the majority of your theatrical run throughout November. That just doesn't make a whole lot of sense from a marketing standpoint. Y'all horror fans hear the Christmas music that plays in November for some fucking reason. On top of that fresh release date, we also have this new still of Art the Clown in the upcoming threequel. Art appears to be in a dusty old attic, giving me some Christmas Vacation vibes. I can already tell this movie is going to look and feel so much more professional. I mean, just look at the lighting in that shot. It looks gorgeous. My theory for what's happening here is that a parent character is going to grab presents for their kids from the attic as Art viciously murders them. It makes me wonder if Art the Clown is hiding out in somebody's attic this entire time, considering that he can't really stay at the carnival we saw at the end of Terrifier 2. Once word gets out that Art the Clown has escaped the sanitarium from the post-credit scene of Terrifier 2, I imagine the first place the cops are going to look is the Terrifier attraction from the entire third act of the previous movie. Look, Art might be a goofy guy, but he has shown intelligence in the previous 2 movies. He's not an idiot. I think he's smart enough to avoid the cops, but then again, we did see him getting bitched out by some mall security in that little behind the scenes video from their mall shoot. Maybe he's just getting lucky. We'll have to find out this October. What do you all think is going to happen in Terrifier 3? What update from today's video has you the most excited? Leave me something about it in the comments below. Subscribe to this page now or I will bite off all of your fingers. Not just the pinky either, I'm going for the thumb and everything else. My stomach is making the rumblies that only fingers can satisfy. Thank you all again for watching, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.